Imagine waking up in a quiet Colorado mountain town, only to see a giant armored bulldozer rolling down Main Street, tearing buildings apart like they were made of cardboard. No movie special effects, no video game. This really happened. Today, we are breaking down the unbelievable true story of Marvin Heemeyer and the infamous Killdozer incident. Buckle up, because this is one of the craziest one-man rampages in American history. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Knuckles FM, where we deep dive into some old history that interests me, and I try to explain it to my pug. Sadly, Rocco is not here because he's being a little baby and he just wants to play with his toy over there. So that was about all the Rocky you're going to get today, so I apologize in advance. It was only a matter of time before we dove into the Killdozer. This was only a thing that I heard a little bit about in high school. I didn't know much until obviously I got older, and then I looked more into it, and it became one of my favorite little small town meltdowns that I've ever seen. Not saying it should happen in my town, but listen. So before we get to the rampage, we have to start all the way back with part one. Who was Marvin Heemeyer? If I'm saying his last name wrong, I apologize, but deal with it. Marvin John Heemeyer was born in 1951 in South Dakota. He moved around a bit, but eventually landed in Granby, Colorado, a small mountain town with just over 2,000 people. Marvin wasn't some lifelong criminal. He was a skilled welder and mechanic. In fact, he ran a muffler repair shop called Mountain View Mufflers. Honestly, I'd wear that shirt. If he had a nice business shirt, I'd wear it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm also looking for a Marvin Heemeyer Killdozer shirt, a memorial shirt. It is really hard to come by. There's one shirt that I really want to get, but I cannot find it. Or it's like a crappy made shirt, you know. People in town described him as friendly, even charismatic at times, but he also had a stubborn streak. Marvin was known for holding grudges and not letting things go. At first glance, you would think this guy's just your average small town mechanic, but under the surface, he was simmering with resentment. I don't know if I'd want to go to that repair shop. How can you have a killer name for your shop but be a jackass? Like, that's criminal right there. So there is your history on Marvin. So now we're going to go ahead and jump into part two, the spark that lit the fuse. The conflict started in the mid-1990s. A local concrete company, Mountain Park Concrete. Why does everyone's business have to start with the name Mountain? They wanted to build a plant right next to Marvin's property. Marvin didn't like this. He claimed the plant would block access to his shop and hurt his business. Fought against the rezoning and construction through petitions, city council meetings, and lawsuits. But Marvin lost. Oh, no. I'm sure he took that loss very lightly. To Marvin, this wasn't just losing a case at City Hall. It was personal. He felt the town leaders were corrupt and siding with big businesses and screwing over the little guy. And that belief grew into obsession. Oh no, I'm not gonna lie, this is not looking good for Marvin here. So let's just go back. Let's use our detective skills here. We know Marvin has a shop and is a mechanic, but we also know he's stubborn and he holds grudges and he doesn't like to let things go. So they're just cooking up a monster at this point. Part three, the grudge multiplies. Marvin's battles didn't stop with the concrete plant. He got into feuds with local officials, business owners, even neighbors. He started recording audio tapes, hours and hours worth, venting his anger. That's not a good sign. In those tapes, he said things like, "Sometimes reasonable men must do unreasonable things. I'm sure that's quoted on a t-shirt somewhere. He saw himself being pushed into a corner by corruption in Granby. In reality, a lot of locals saw Marvin as the one refusing to compromise, which is possible. It really could be. It all depends on, like, you don't know it's going to disrupt business. He just probably didn't want it right next to his business. Definitely a nice build up here. I mean, to be honest, this very well could be, I mean, he has a big temper, so he very well could be just, you know, going down the rabbit hole at this point. Rocky. Rocco. What do you think? Rocky, what do you think about the Marvin? Do you think Marvin was actually the one that was causing all the issues? He is licking that bone. Rocky! Hey! What do you think about Marvin? Do you think he is the one not cooperating and he's the one causing all the baby issues? All right. Oh, Rocco. Part 4, building the Killdozer. In secret, Marvin began modifying a Komatsu D355A bulldozer that he had bought in an auction. This wasn't a weekend project. It took him over a year of work in his shop. I could only imagine he's redoing somebody's muffler and they're in there like picking up their car and they just see this abomination. They're like, hey, what's that, Marvin? Like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Reasonable men have to do unreasonable things. Okay, Marvin. I'm going to take my car now. I'm going to get out of here. Unreasonable men got to do reasonable things. Do you think he was drinking at all during this? He reinforced the bulldozer with layers of steel and concrete. Hey, do you think he bought the concrete from the neighbors? Creating an armor that could withstand rifles, handguns, even small explosives. Do you think he tested any of this in his shop? I'm just curious. He rigged the bulldozer with fans and motors inside, creating a full cockpit. The thing was basically a homemade tank. Once the armor was lowered into place, Marvin had no way out. It was literally one-way mission. This is where Marvin's plan turned from anger, ranting, into something terrifyingly real. He wasn't just dreaming about revenge. He was engineering it. Oh boy. Oh boy. That's also interesting. Literally, once he lowered it in, it's like, well, can't. No going back. Moving on. Part 5. The Rampage, June 4th, 2004. That Friday afternoon, Marvin climbed inside his creation, sealed himself in, and started the bulldozer. Imagine if it didn't start. He drove out of his shop, smashing through the walls like a monster breaking free. For the next 2 hours, Marvin rampaged through Granby, targeting buildings connected to people he felt wronged him. His targets included the concrete plant. Could you imagine? Oh my God. The concrete plant, town hall, the local newspaper office, because they ran editorials against him, a former mayor's home, multiple businesses of people he considered his enemies. He destroyed 13 buildings in total. Police tried everything, rifles, shotguns, even explosions. Little did they know, this man tested it in his shop many months ago. Nothing stopped the Killdozer. Bullets literally bounced off of it. Killdozer weighed nearly 85 tons with all that armor. At this point, the whole town was in shock. This wasn't a guy with a gun. This was a man who had turned construction equipment into his personal war machine. My question is, do you think this man had a radio in there playing like AC/DC? Like, could you bet he's inside the Killdozer and you just hear, I'm on the highway to hell, down the highway. Oh my God. Oh my God. Final chapter, part 6. How it ended. Eventually, the Killdozer got stuck while collapsing the Gamble's hardware store. Marvin tried to free it, but the machine was wedged. Police surrounded the vehicle inside. Marvin realized it was over. And poor Marvin, he took his own life with a handgun. No one else was killed during the rampage, a miracle considering the destruction. Granby was left in ruins. The town had millions in damages. Investigators discovered the modified bulldozer in shocking detail. It was practically indestructible by small town law enforcement standards. People were split on Marvin's legacy. Some saw him as a villain who could have killed dozens. Others, especially on the internet years later, painted him as a folk hero standing up against corruption. The truth is, Marvin's story is complicated. Was he a man driven to desperation, or someone who let his anger consume him until he became the very monster he thought he was fighting? Closing thoughts. I wasn't supposed to read that part. At the end of the day, the Killdozer incident shows what can happen when grudges fester and anger boils over unchecked. Marvin Heemeyer turned his resentment into an unstoppable machine, but in the process, he destroyed himself and his town. It's a reminder that sometimes the scariest villains aren't from horror movies. They're regular people who snap. So yeah. Very, very interesting story that I can't wait to tell my kids and grandkids one day, because it's truly, you have a lot of these situations in town, and luckily nothing ever happens. But when they do, oh boy. At the end of the day, I'm going to need you guys to comment down below. What do you guys think? Do you think Marvin Heemeyer is a symbol of rebellion against corruption, or just a man who let rage drive him to madness? I'll be very excited to see what you guys put down in the comments. Also, like, subscribe. It means a lot. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.